Here is another video on my project of working on understanding, taking primary colors and trying to darken them all the way to, well, it's not really black, but a really dark version of their color. There's several ways you can do this, including in several directions. This happens to be sort of what I enjoy most, but yeah, I could. That's a longer conversation, but I'm going to keep going with this, and hopefully, if you've seen the previous one, you saw that I'm only putting a creamy wash for the row, for the blue and the red. You're going to have to try to keep track here a little bit. In the third rectangle shape, and I'm not really adding it to this one and this one for the Quinn Rose, or this one and this one for the peacock blue version, and I'll explain why when I get to those, but mostly at some point, regardless of the fact that it's still watercolor, the number of layers can just sort of have an effect that I don't think is as nice as if you lay down some foundational color, and then when you know you're going to need a lot of darker layers, mixing more straight to those, and I'll keep explaining that as I go. But first of all, I'm just going to I'm going to do my sort of creamy Quinn Rose kukuk. That's fun to say right here. And I may end up going even creamier on this one. We'll see. Just want to try to get a lot Quinn Rose pigment on there still moving around with some water, still trying to get that row of pooling color, even though the more concentrated your mix is, the harder that is to do, because there's so much less water in a given mix. So I'm trying to get this one a pretty just straight, both this one and this one, the Quinn Rose and the Peacock Blue, to pretty much straight with a really strong version of just what the color in the tube will be like. For the yellow, I'm really having to do that here in the second square, because if I want to make it to really dark that is equal with these other ones, I'm going to have to, I need to start shifting towards adding darker colors in this third one, because yellow is has already, as just a color by itself, has already gotten as dark as it's going to get in this sort of exercise range that we're talking about in that second square. I hope all that was on frame. Either way, so I did that one. I'm going to wash the brush out, and now I'm going to come back to the blue. I'm going to let those dry, and I'm going to get some clean. I know I'm jumping back and forth here a little bit, but I'm sort of managing my water situation while I'm trying to complete this in as few videos as efficiently as possible here. So what I'm going to do here for this one and this one is something I may not have discussed yet, but I've actually played with the idea here, and what I've done is I've actually started adding a touch of Quinn Rose to the mix of Peacock Blue, and then which will change it to a little bit darker, as well as dulling it down a little bit, neutralizing it a little bit, in a way that's still, I find, very attractive and getting to dark black. So I'll be adding a little bit of, this is pretty creamy peacock blue, and I'll add a little bit of Quin Rose, pretty concentrated, and then also start adding some indigo, and then I'm going to paint that color on these last couple. So it changes this blue. I like that. It's almost shifting to a kind of an ultramarine blue, but and then I need to start getting darker as well. So I'm going to see what this is like. This probably won't be dark enough for these, but I did want to start, like I did want to start shifting to some neutralizing darker mixes of this blue family, what I would call it, instead of just laying on a creamy mix of just the peacock blue. And that is to kind of manage just how many layers. I usually, it's a fine idea to sort of keep to 3 in general, or 3 to 5 I usually do. But if you start doing 6, 7, and 8, and there's no law against it, but it can have a buildup that is not, that detracts a little. And in fact, I think some of that is happening on this one, but is that dark enough for that? I'm talking to myself, I know. I'm going to add a touch more indigo and try to darken that up a little bit more. And it's still nice and wet. As I'm doing this, one of the things I sort of notice I do is I definitely sort of come in, lay it down. It's a little bit like an airplane fake landing, what I want to say. Come in and I take back off. Instead of trying to, there's a quickness about it. It's not happening quite as much there, but and the other thing is, when I am adding paint way up here with just the tip like this, I'm making sure to go really quick and to get it everywhere, because I mean, I want it to get it anywhere where there's paint that's not moving around. Hopefully this will show up on camera, but there will come a point where it's fun to, if you do want to keep all that paint in there, yeah, I'm going to call that okay. I know it seems dark, but what I think is this one, I'm going to put a layer of even creamier peacock blue on there. But okay, the fifth one. So I am making the 4th and 5th one, this combination of a little bit of peacock blue, creamy, a very little amount of Quin Rose, kind of creamy, and then some indigo. It's sort of, I'm gonna borrow some color from over there. It's a little bit confusing because the watery and juicy and creamy really applies to the overall mix, so it's not really the amount of individual colors, but it's sort of going on at the same time. If I want to keep the mix really quite concentrated and creamy, I need to not bring in a bunch of watery color of either the Quinn Rose or the indigo. I'm going to see how that dries, and I'm going to wave to the train.